Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 16, Episode 7.
I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. I have a feeling that I'm going to be proven right by the end of the season. And what is one of my sayings that I've been saying for the season? Angela needs to be first chair.
Oh, yeah.
And Porsha may need to be one and done. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
All right. So Britt's husband takes her car shopping. She's doing the most.
Of course.
Putting her leg in the air, talking about she want to get it popping in the car. But she says pretty much you can't keep a bad bee down for long. So she is moving upward and onward.
Her husband was like, yo, you doing too much. Like we out in public. You already doing too much. Do you have the feeling that her husband like her?
I don't know. It's hard to tell because some guys just be grumpy. So I don't know. He could or he could not. Yeah. I really don't know.
And then some people even put their detective hats on, which I seen in the comments. Thank y'all for this because I'm stealing it from y'all. That maybe they're not legally married or something like that, to where maybe she hit a chord. Kenya hit a chord with her when she asked, hey, where's your engagement ring? Where's your wedding band or something like that? And we already know Brit is the type to, what's the word? Lie? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Or try to put 20 on 10. Oh my goodness, woe is me. I have to go to jail because I'm being investigated by my insurance company. It's just like you're already doing too much. And this right here is just an example of it, in my opinion. I don't know if her husband like her or her fiance. I don't know who he is, but it does give I did feel a feeling of like relax. Even throughout this whole season, I felt the husband, especially the night with the Kenya thing, he was basically like, relax, you know? Yeah.
So moving on, Drew visits Angela at her house, and Angela says she spoke to Marcus Jordan, and Drew is not cousins with Michael.
I was just joking, girl.
Exactly. Drew said she was joking. She was like, my mom said we could possibly be cousins, something like that. And Angela was saying you were not joking. So to me, Drew thinks lies are jokes. Okay. So now I have determined I don't like Drew because Drew takes lies for jokes, and you can't believe nothing that comes out her mouth. Yeah. So
I don't understand why. And maybe she was joking. Listen, I give her a little bail out of jail for that.
I don't get the joke in that.
Right. I don't get the joke either. Right. But the joke to say that to Angela Oakley, it's a dumb joke to say because guess who's one of Michael Jordan's best friends? Charles. Right? So, Angela going to go back and basically be like, I don't see you around. I never heard your name around and things like that. So it was very funny to hear Drew try to basically explain herself like, I was joking. I was expecting you to go back and really do some detective work and talk to the son and talk to Charles and things of that nature. So it's like, Drew, I'm gonna talk about you later on in this episode because we gonna have to deep dive on Drew because I really don't understand what's Drew angle with this whole divorce thing.
Something is up. Yeah. But moving on, Cynthia, Porsha, and Shamea meet up at Kelly's house. Cynthia, we know, has been married twice, and she doesn't want to be in an unhealthy relationship. Okay. She gives us a list of what she wants in a man, and she wonders if it's too much. But we also learn because Kelly's dog walked into the scene, and she was hot pink with cheetah print. So we learned that Kelly's dog was stolen, and this was her way of trying to make sure the dog doesn't get stolen again. I was more interested in the dog story than Cynthia's story, to be honest. Wow. I mean, I know, I like Cynthia. She's, been on the show or was on the show as a full-time cast member for a really long time. And I enjoyed seeing her engagement to Mike Hill, Chill, and all that type of stuff, and her getting her Lake Bailey and her fresh starts. So I really do enjoy Cynthia. But, her love life is her love life, and it's going to have ups, downs, men, no men, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I was more interested in why does the dog look like this?
Yeah, the dog is in witness protection because...
Yeah, I was cracking up when you said that.
Yeah, it was kidnapped, and then that's where Kelly dyed it pink, and then now we can't recognize the dog anymore, right? So the dog took on a whole new identity. Hopefully the dog is safe. Listen here, it seems like Kelly and the dog running for their lives. Kelly got full-time bodyguard, and the dog is in witness protection to where it changed his identity. Listen here, y'all need to relax whatever y'all doing, okay? Cynthia, I don't know how I feel about Cynthia, right? Because, Cynthia was a full-time member back in the day, and now we see her, and we actually go see her actually be invited on the trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I think her being invited to the trip and not inviting Drew, as we go get to it, the reason why I say Porsha might need to be one and done is, even though you don't like Drew, even though I'm really not a fan of Drew, it kind of gave me a Real Housewives of Potomac feel.
Okay.
Because you Porsha, you are the anchor of the show, at least for this season. And you are doing a lot of dividing, at least with one of the main castmates, with basically Drew, to invite Cynthia, to where Cynthia really never gives us any story, especially since that's why she's the friend of the show, right? So that's why I'm like, I'm not really liking this whole dynamic that Porsha is doing. And the fact that I don't like it is that you're doing this just so you don't tell your story. You doing this whole Drew smoke screen just so we don't talk about you and Simon. And I'm like, it's really not worth it for you to even divide the cast in that way, just so you can like hide your life. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah. So we talk about how Brit wasn't feeling Angela at the peace brunch.
Yeah.
She says that she's under investigation. She's talking to her husband, and how could she know what's going on with her? She thinks that Angela lacks empathy, and what if she brought up what Angela had been through, Charles having a baby on her, and she needs to worry about what's going on with her man rather than Brit.
Yeah. Here's the thing about Brit. The reason why it's kind of hard to believe you, because how can you be under investigation so fast? Mind you, last episode, it told us 48 hours later, after the whole shebang that Kenya did at her own hair salon spa, right? So it's kind of hard to believe that the insurance company would know about what happened that fast, especially when the episode just came out a couple weeks ago. But they knew what happened so fast in real time, to the point where they are putting you in front of the board for investigation. At first, you said you lost your license. Now you're saying that you're under investigation. It just makes it seem like you want people to have pity for you and things of that nature. And that's why you going all with this, Angela don't have empathy for me. How can she know what's going on? Angela came out last week in real time and basically gave a more in-depth reason of why she wouldn't know what's going on, because I am insured by this. I know the protocol with this. And it just comes off as, you know what? Who cares what you think, Angela, even though it may be the truth? It just seemed like Brit is lying to me.
Yeah, I'm not really too interested in hearing Brit try to gain more sympathy from people and trying to like kind of manipulate situations into things to make her look a certain way. And I think that when it comes to the ladies, I think that she strikes too quickly. I feel like Angela didn't say anything to really get you to come out and talk about Charles having a baby on her on screen. And that's something that, of course we knew about coming out with like the Wendy Williams clip and everything that did come out. So we already knew that as the audience. So it wasn't the big bomb drop that maybe she thought it would have been. Yeah. But either way, it didn't call for this. So this is what makes me think that Brit automatically goes to 1,000 for situations that don't call for it. So it's just, just more reasons why she don't need to be here to me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So we go back to Drew and Angela. And Angela hopes that there is some growth when it comes to Brit. She thought that Brit would have been more vulnerable, more humble. Drew agrees. And she says that she did get a text from Brit to go out for drinks, which she is probably going to do. And we also learned that there's another court date coming up for Drew and Ralph. She's trying to have the judge keep the case sealed because she doesn't want the kids to read about all their fighting. And Drew says Porsha and Ralph just have an issue with her and Dennis working together, and she doesn't quite understand why.
Now, stop right here for a second, right? With this whole idea, oh yeah, by the way, unseal the documents, judge, please. Because this is when I realized, because I always called Drew Porsha light. It was at this moment to where she was basically saying, and I don't know if she said in this scene, but she said it in this episode, to where she wants to keep the documents sealed to protect Ralph, right? Basically like, yeah, I'm doing it for Ralph because you know what? I don't want the kids to read about it. I don't want people to read about it. And I'm like, for someone who is basically in the wrong in the sense of Ralph, basically saying unseal the documents, right? And he knows that he was, cheating or doing whatever he's doing, but he's like, I want transparency. Obviously, there's something in the documents that Drew don't want us to know about her. Yeah. And she's trying to put it on as if she's protecting Ralph and trying to put it on, as I always say, one tell that you can tell if someone's lying is when they throw their kids in there with the whole, I don't want the kids to know, as if the kids didn't live in the same house when y'all was having problems. So were y'all that type of marriage couple to where y'all had arguments whispering? You get what I'm saying? So the kids don't know anything. The kids don't see it weird at all that daddy lives in the basement and things like that, and mommy lives in a full house.
And you have to leave every other weekend.
So, like, I don't really understand this whole thing of I don't want my kids to know. Your kids living it. That's their reality. So I don't really believe Drew. And I need to know what's in the now. Drew, you made me interested to see what's in the documents. At first, nobody, in my opinion, nobody cared about your divorce and to the point where they look it up and want to know why y'all got divorced. But now I'm 100% interested because there's something in there you don't want us to know about you.
Yeah, and for me at this point in the episode, I felt like, yeah, it probably is best for the documents to stay sealed because, why put all of their dirty business out on Front Street? But it's when we get deeper into the court day, how she reacted, how she responded to things is what made me pretty much come to your side.
Oh, yeah. Come to the dark side. Baby.
Yeah, but we get to Porsha talking about how she's done with the Drew situation and she just sees who Drew is at this point. Her B-Day's coming up. She invited all the girls except for Drew, and they're going to Nashville for a Cowboy Carter themed birthday.
And that's my question. Like, obviously, this is a cash trip, right? I knew for a fact Drew was going to come, right? What good does it do to not invite Drew?
Yeah.
Why would you want Drew to be your story? That's the thing I don't really understand. With this whole idea of Porsha being the main anchor of the show, and a lot of people feel like Porsha can't anchor a show because she had her own show, and Dennis was basically the star of that show and his family. I don't really understand why she would attach her name and her story and her likeness this season to Drew. Drew is not a good cast member, in my opinion. As Blair said last episode, she unconsciously and sometimes consciously don't think of Drew. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes the scene be going and Drew finally shows up and we be like, oh, yeah, I forgot you was even part of the show. That I thought you was already here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So to attach your name to somebody who I feel like is not needed on Real Housewives of Atlanta, that being Drew, it just comes off as like, Porsha, are you bigger than this? You are a bigger name than Drew. You are a bigger personality than Drew. Why are you so concerned about this story, non-story, whatever you want to call it, to basically hide your life? I'd rather you beef with your best friend, to be honest, because this I know we 7 episodes in, but I'm over the whole Porsha versus Drew. You talking to my baby daddy thing. Like, it's old now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I think that for Porsha to not invite Drew to the trip was really petty because, of course, it's your birthday, but it's a cast trip. Yeah. And as the cast, you want to make sure the cast goes so everybody can get paid. I don't feel like it's fair to have Drew siloed away from the group because she's working with Dennis. You know this. Dennis talked to you about it. And I understand that she wasn't a fan of the fact that Drew was trying to get Dennis to film with her, but if at the end of the day this is for the greater good of pretty much like getting money for you guys' child and just trying to make sure that Dennis is successful in whatever he chooses to do, I would think that this would be like a one and done conversation. But I think it goes to show like Porsha wants to not have this conversation with Drew so she can stay mad because if they resolve the issue, then she's going to have to start talking about herself. And all these different moments when people bring up, well, Porsha, how are things going with your divorce? Porsha, what's going on with you? Like, Porsha really has limited amount of things to say. Yeah. The man was like lighting her ablaze on social media, and all she can say is that he didn't respond to my text about PJ. That's all you got to say, for real? Who's
not his baby?
Yeah. So I'm just like, there's definitely more to the story that Porsha is just unwilling to reveal.
Yeah, facts.
So we move on to Angela talking to Drew and pretty much inviting her to Porsha's B-Day trip. But Drew would only want to accept an invite from Porsha because they're already in a not so great space. Porsha thinks that Drew is a pathological liar. Takes one to know one.
Okay.
And Brit thinks that the trip will be a good thing.
Okay. So let's keep going.
So we learned that Angela got some Botox because apparently her nose was too pinched and now it is too swollen. And I'm just like, ooh, that comment by Shamea must have really stung.
And that's probably why she probably felt like she had to apologize.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not in that life. I'm not in that plastic surgery life and things of that nature. I'm like, love yourself. You was already created perfect. And now it just shows that we as humans are not good, creators and things like that, to where you doing this to your face and then, it's too much. And then now you trying to redo the work and now it's too big. And it just seems like you was already perfectly created. You get what I'm saying? As people would say, when you was created, the mold was broken. Mm-hmm. And now you're trying to actually replicate a mold or whatever it is of trying my nose too big, my face too big, my face too sweaty. It's just like, love yourself. You know what I mean? But, to each his own. I'm not against anybody who want to do it. I'm just going with my belief on that.
Yeah. So we move on to Porsha and Cynthia. Mm-hmm. Cynthia couldn't see this coming for Porsha. I don't know why, Cynthia.
Yeah. Here, hold on. What is your true feelings about Cynthia? Because some days I like Cynthia, some days I don't like Cynthia. And it just seems like Cynthia is very like, I feel like she blends in with whatever crowd she's in.
Well, that's the thing with Cynthia. She's always been kind of the middle of the road, neutral party type of personality, which I feel like is good for a show like Housewives of Atlanta, because you need people like that. You can't have everybody who's trying to get the spotlight. Mm-hmm. So I've always liked that about Cynthia, but I do think that Cynthia is interesting how she picks and chooses what she wants to have, not to say what she wants to have an opinion on, because she's a smart lady. I'm sure she has opinions about a lot of things, but what she chooses to voice her opinion about, or maybe I'm questioning some of her opinions. Maybe that's a better way to say it, because how she couldn't see this coming for Porsha, I really don't know. But maybe Cynthia couldn't see it coming for Porsha because she couldn't see it coming for herself and her multiple divorces. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she really is, and this could be a stretch, a lover girl for whirlwind romances, and it might be something that probably would have pulled the wool over her eyes as well. And I think that's crazy, but tracks, I guess.
And Cynthia was with Peter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So next, Brit and Drew meet up. And Drew says that Brit came in kind of hot, and Brit felt like people were not trying to hear her side. Drew just tells her, the way that you were talking at the brunch, it just felt like it was really celebratory. The way that you were talking about Kenya was off-putting as well. And Drew at this point just wants to know what's the real with Brit, and she asked her, has she ever sold it? Ever sold the cat? Brit gets choked up trying to say no.
Listen here, she was basically like, I be on it all night. No. Here's the thing about it. Hold on, before we get to that, right?
Yeah.
How can you feel like we wasn't for you, Britt, if the whole brunch was something for you? So this whole idea of, I feel like when I came there, y'all wasn't for me. This is a Britt peace brunch.
Yes.
It was for you. You just came in on hot, and that's what I'm saying. She's lying, talking about it was y'all who basically started. No, what happened was you heard that one of us talked to Kenya, and you were like, you talked to Kenya?
Yeah, and then it went downhill
from there. Yeah. Exactly. And now Drew over here asking, were you a hooker, prostitute, or anything like that? Were you a sex worker? Okay.
And Britt says that she did webcam with a friend for a week in her 20s, and that was pretty much all it was.
A week? It took a week on a webcam for you to expose yourself? Okay.
So Britt asks Drew, did she know the recipient of who was receiving the D? Because Drew piped up at one of their get-togethers saying that the guy whose D was getting sucked messaged her pretty much, and she said that she knew the guy. And Drew thought that she recognized the guy in the photo, but she says she was joking. And Britt asked Drew to, pretty much just put yourself in my shoes. Like, if you were in my situation, like, this is a tough thing to go through. And Drew acknowledges that, she has been in situations to where her character has been compromised by what people have said in the media about her. And her heart goes out to Britt for what she's dealing with.
I guess this is one of those moments or main moments to where Drew said, I was joking, and you was like, no, you just lied for no reason.
Exactly. And I'm just like, the way that Drew jokes is too many times where your lies are jokes. and one time to me is too many times, because what you lying for a joke for? It's not funny. It didn't happen.
Yeah, Drew have to be the type of person to where you tell her from now on your jokes got to start with knock knock, so I knows that you're joking, because you're trying to use that wiggle room of basically of you joking when you get caught in a lie.
Yeah.
But if nobody even mention it, you basically just go let it fly, and that makes no sense. Do you think Britt was doing webcam for a week?
I don't know, but no, I don't believe it, because I think Britt be lying too.
Yeah.
I think she lied when she said that she didn't have a gun there.
Yes.
I think she lied when she said that she did the webcam thing, when she lied about saying that she didn't sell the cat and all this different type of stuff. I just don't believe the lady. Yeah. You know? But, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, truth be told. Yeah, I think she's lying. I think she's basically doing things in a sense of like, I wasn't this type of person. And that what Kenya was basically the whole sermon that Kenya was trying to preach in a R-rated sermon. Who is this hoe? Yeah. Right? And basically she was trying to say that her face is fake. You get what I'm saying? The way she make money is scammy, right? And basically, as we get back to the top of the sermon, she's a hoe. No, go ahead.
And I think my major thing with Britt too is that I struggle with connecting with her on multiple levels for multiple reasons. But one of the things is that I think it's a benefit when you can own your past. Yeah. And say that, hey, this is what I used to do. This is how I used to make my money. Like these are decisions that I've made that I probably wouldn't do till this day. And, really live in the fact that you've rebranded your life. You've rebranded yourself as a person, and you're not going to basically stand for people coming at you with your own dirt, because you know what you've been through and you're not ashamed of it, because you've gotten to a better place. Yeah. But then this is where my little antennas, my silver hat comes up to where I'm just like, well, you know what? Why it probably bothers her so much is because she probably didn't change. She probably attempted to rebrand for public sake for Housewives of Atlanta. Yeah. But if you ask me, she's probably the same girl she was in her 20s. And for people coming at her for who she was feels even worse, because that's still who she is.
Who is this hoe, as Kenya said? And the reason why I didn't believe Britt from the first time I see her on camera is when she basically was talking about how she used to be with rappers, and she was the one who chose not to be with them anymore, because she wanted to basically live this life of basically like, I'm with my husband. And I'm like, that's usually not how it goes when you dealing with rappers, especially when the rapper that we know of is Rick Ross. And that was a public relationship where he publicly disrespected you and cheated on you. So there's usually what happens when it comes to rappers is you are until you ain't. Like, you're part of the limelight. You're part of, like, you find your worth and your value by being with this big time rapper, this flashy rapper. It's all a flash, right? And the next thing you know, you with a husband who's telling you you're doing too much in a freaking car dealership, right? And truth be told, if you was with a rapper, he probably would join you and do too much too. But you're with a regular guy. He just like, why are you acting like a child? You know? And here's the thing about it. Do I believe she did it for a week? No. Right, but I think it goes back to the whole rebranding, as Kenya was trying to say. She's a hoe. She really had no standard. This is what she does. Too far, Kenya. Not three far even. You know. And now she's basically trying to make it seem like whatever she's trying to color me as, I only did it for a week. Well, there's a lot of video, pictures, information. There is a lot of digital footprints for things that you only did for 7 days. Yeah. I don't believe it.
Yeah. So we get to Drew and Ralph's court date. This was like the juiciest part of the episode for me.
And you know why it was juicy?
Why?
Because Drew did not want this to happen.
Yeah.
And that lets me know, to your point, oh, you hiding something.
Yeah. And now I want to figure it out.
Oh, no. I was unseal.
Because I did not care before. I really did not care. Yeah. So she, of course, wants the documents to stay sealed because she thinks that there's more damning evidence against Ralph than her.
How that even makes sense when you actually, when I hear that back, how do that even make sense? You get what I'm saying?
And she is more fearful for Ralph than herself.
Again, how do that even make sense?
We also learned that Ralph is on his third attorney.
Yeah.
His attorney is telling him that this is a money grab. I will say, she hyped him up in that room. And I was just like, I kind of like her energy, even though this is a little bit evil.
It is what it is.
I kind of like her energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge decided to unseal the divorce documents, and he still gets the chance to stay in the house because he didn't turn in his financial documents. So he's just like, yes, I get to stay in the basement. Why? I don't know.
That's the biggest mystery about. First of all, what? Listen here, right?
Well, can I want to add one thing?
Go ahead.
The why, because I know that he was talking to some people in like the car and all that stuff on the way there, and he was saying like he pays the bills, like this is his house pretty much. So I think he's really like trying to hold on to this house as long as he can. Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing about it,
even
though.
if it's the basement.
Even if it's the basement, right? Here's the thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
This divorce, I think we are so hung on Porsha and Simon, I think his name was, divorce, because Portia's the bigger name. How they got together is basically the boom, is the big shebang, right? But I think we need to turn our attention and basically hold Drew and Ralph hostage for this story.
Yeah.
Because the idea that, first of all, he gets to live in the house still. Let's say he was the one. Because Ralph was the one that telling us in the confessional that he done wrong, right? But he's like, she done wrong too. Mm-hmm. And I want transparency, right? How does he get to, first of all, still live in the house, in the basement, to the point where the other party have to leave, right? Also, he gets the documents get unsealed by his request. Also, the judge grants his request that he gets to hide his financial information. Who is Ralph said, I'm gonna get the right lawyer. You get what I'm saying?
I don't know if the judge let him do it. It's just he still ain't turned it in yet.
But my whole thing is, listen, but there is no give me the information now.
Or you're in contempt or whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
So there is no rush or no push for him to show his financial information and things like that. I'm like, what type of divorce is this?
Yeah.
This is not normal. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, especially when I saw Ralph out there doing the Macarena and stuff like that, dancing with his lawyers and things like that while he was waiting for his Uber, you know? And Drew basically about to drive by as Blair about to read. I'm like, oh, there's something in those documents that's not going to make you look like the damsel in distress. And I want to see it, and I will see it.
Yeah, and Drew yells at Ralph that he's dumb outside the window.
Yes.
And she's talking about she's still concerned for the kids, but he wants full transparency so the records can be unsealed and really see the ins and outs of what happened in their relationship. And I'll put it like this. I don't agree with Ralph in a lot of things because he did cheat and he did, what did he do? Go down to Tampa and had cameras at the house watching her while he was in Tampa. He's a weird dude.
Ralph is a weirdo.
Ralph is a weird dude.
Is a weirdo. You're
yeah,
right. Yep.
He's a weird dude. But at the same time, I'm for not letting somebody paint the narrative for you. Drew has a way of lying, joking, whatever she want to call it, and creating stories the way that she wants them to be shown, which a lot of people do that. That's not just to Drew's sake. But if you guys are on this big platform and you're going through this public divorce as you are, I can understand her wanting to protect her kids in the process, but if Ralph doesn't want to be looked at as, the demon in the situation, then he's going to say, let's show the whole truth. You only want to tell one side.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily believe Ralph. I don't necessarily believe Drew, but I am believing whatever the documents end up saying.
Yeah, I think there's something in those documents that is damning to Drew because the fact that she was crying, the fact that she was emotional about it. I'm like, what is so bad in those documents? It can't be like she cheated too. I'm like, that's not the worst. Is it you put your hands on them? Like, what is it so damning that you think that it's going to basically destroy your family?
And I guess my thing is too, like, I don't understand even in divorces and why parents don't want to talk to their kids about why they're getting divorced.
Yeah.
Like you said, like they're living
the reality
of the effects of you guys going through a divorce, but nobody's going to talk them and walk them through what's actually going on.
Your whole life.
I feel like that's more damaging than actually like telling them what's happening so they can have a better understanding. And even if you have to like relay certain details that's age appropriate or even get a counselor on board, that's something that you have to do as a parent. But just keeping them in the dark while you guys are going about your life in such a different way than they're used to, I just don't get it. I really don't.
It's weird. It's weird.
So The ladies are in Nashville. Everyone except for Angela, she missed her flight.
Oh, yeah.
And they have this beautiful house. They're sitting on a lake. Everyone's checking out their rooms. And we find out that most of the women are going to be room sharing or bunk bedding.
Oh, my goodness, man. I don't know why. I don't know why y'all pick houses that have bunk beds. I really don't. But, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. So they're all sitting around talking, eating, and someone asked Porsha how, she's doing with the divorce and birthdays and things like that. I think it was Kelli who asked her about that. And Porsha says that it's a little bit unsettling because with Simon, they used to travel for their birthdays because their birthdays were close together.
Yeah.
But she knew this time around she wanted to be around her girls. And Cynthia says, well, you can't take every girl on a girls trip. Before we get into a little bit more of this, y'all didn't let Porsha breathe with the Simon conversation because what do you mean y'all take birthdays every year? So it was what, 1 or 2 birthday trips that y'all took?
It wasn't long.
So
it was one trip.
Exactly. So I'm just kind of like, can we get a little like follow-up questions when it comes to this? Like everybody's so quick to move past it. But anyway, Cynthia is saying that some people switch up around groups and when they're out of town. Angela walks in, and before she even fixes herself a plate, she's talking about she invited Drew to come.
Hey, listen here, I might as well get it out of the way because I see the food. Hey, Drew coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Angela, for coming to work. You know what I mean?
So Porsha is being cool about it, but she is not happy that Drew is going to be on this trip that she did not invite her to. Kelli and Britt apparently ran into Angela at Neiman Marcus, and Britt was like, she kind of hid, and Angela was like, I spoke. But apparently the hug wasn't good enough for Britt because she asked Angela, was it a real hug? And Angela's like, I'm not fake, so if I'm going to show you love, it's real.
Listen here,
I don't know what's up with Britt and hugs.
I don't know, man.
It's so odd.
She want to feel you.
I'm like, somebody needs to rock her. Like, she needs to sit with Iyanla and let Iyanla rock her in her bosom.
No, I like the other thing that she does. I want her to take Britt by the back of her neck and make her talk to the dirt. Okay. You get what I'm saying? Like, talk to your old self. It's dead. You know what I mean? Listen, all that rocking and hugging and she does. Listen, I'm sure her hugs feel amazing talking about...
they look amazing.
Talking about Dr.
Iyanla.
Yeah. And, but... I think some of the hugs could be too much because she be hugging and then she be wiping away whatever is on you and stuff like that. I'm like,
I like it.
That's a little too much for me, man. Because to me now, you are controlling the hug. When can I let go? You know what I mean?
Like, because you got to cry. You got to really release that thing.
I ain't going to cry with no hug.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So Angela calls Drew and tells her that the vibe seems to be good and everyone knows that she's going to be coming. Drew doesn't know when she'll be there because the court date has her on edge.
Yeah.
So Porsha is still irritated by the Angela situation. They're all getting ready to head out. And if Angela doesn't keep it cool, then Porsha might get the bucket.
Oh, man.
So,
but listen here. I understand, Angela. You are going head to head with Porsha now. I'm not even saying this for your safety as someone who is on the show, as in going against Porsha will get you off the show. I'm saying, A, protect your neck. Because when Porsha feel like her back is up against the wall, the arms get to swinging.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And guess what? I like what Angela said. Angela said when she was talking about the Brit and Kelli thing, she basically like, look, man, I wear a size 12 shoe. I say she is a tall lady to be with Charles. You know what I mean? She was standing whatever she have to do. And I'm like, yo, give Angela. At first I said Shamea and Porsha, right? But I believe that since Shamea, you want to be Porsha best friend, you want to get the second biggest room at the resort because you're Porsha best friend and things of that nature, sit next to Porsha then, right? Give that other first chair to Miss Angela Oakley.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I like the fact that she's not afraid to move the scenes and call in people and be upfront about situations. And the fact that she's not even doing it in a nasty way. She's just very matter of fact about it. And it's just like, look, we're good. I don't have a problem with you. But Drew's coming.
Yeah. Sorry. To your birthday trip.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is what it is, and we're going to work it out.
Yeah. Now, chef, make me a plate, please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Porsha invited her sister as well as some of her other girlfriends, and they're all just enjoying themselves, doing bull riding. And I think Shamea was the one who lasted the longest on the bull.
Yeah.
So, Drew and her sister are at Dennis's hookah bar, and she's celebrating because she got a record deal. And Dennis, I guess, apparently sent her a bottle from the house, and she FaceTimed him and thanked him for the bottle.
Okay.
So Porsha tells the girls that Angela invited Drew. Angela felt like it was a perfect opportunity for them to lay their issues on the table, and Porsha's like, absolutely not. It's not the opportunity because it's my birthday.
Okay.
You're also at work.
Yes. And guess what? Guess who don't get paid for this episode? The little peanut gallery you invited, your little friends and girlfriends. But guess who got to work? Drew got to work, Angela got to work, and you got to work.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I said that she kind of like Giselle trying to divide the cast. You know what she actually reminded me of in the scene?
Who?
This reminded me of the Love and Marriage Huntsville when Melody invited her friends to the resort and things like that. And they end up getting rooms and things of that nature. And this is kind of what it is. Porsha got her she basically invited her friends and things like that to be basically a fortress to where when like these girls want to jump me and ask me about Simon or ask me about all these things, y'all go hop in and basically cause a diversion to where I don't got to be accountable to anybody here.
Yes, exactly.
That's basically what the whole point.
You hit the nail on the head with that.
I definitely had a hammer in my hand.
You did.
You know what I mean?
And so she's asking Angela if she understands what's going on. Yeah. Angela's like, talk to me like I'm 5, then explain this to me, Porsha.
Dude, you know what's crazy?
What's that?
I love that response.
I loved it too.
I loved it because Porsha tried to make it seem like, are you dumb? Or like it's like, what hair glue are you using? Or are you basically slow? And that's where Angela basically like, yes, I am. Talk to me like I am.
Yeah.
Explain it to me like I'm 5. Then.
And you know Porsha can't explain
No,
nothing.
she can't. We actually see who is the slow one. You know what I'm saying? You just don't get it. And I'm like, okay. So,
okay, explain this to me. You're 65.
Exactly. It's just like
I'm gonna talk to you like you're 65.
Yeah, I'm like,
okay,
yeah,
Porsha,
you can't really explain it. You're right.
So someone asked, so what is the issue with Drew? And somebody pipes up saying that Drew gave Dennis a BJ. And I'm just like,
what?
Birds of a feather flock together. Because Porsha and her friends just be saying whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we got.
That's all we got?
Yeah.
Listen here, I need you to subscribe, like, share, comment. Little housekeeping, I'm going to let y'all know. We are going to do the Kenya release video. So look out for that. Most likely that will be out tomorrow being Tuesday. We also going to do some deep dives on this season of Real Housewives of Atlanta. I want to do a deep dive on the whole Drew and Ralph thing because I really want to know what's in those documents. I'm going to see if I can find some information before I come on here on this camera.
See if we can have something interesting to talk about. Yeah,
because this is it makes no sense. So I need y'all to subscribe, like, share, comment because we are coming with more information, with more shows, with more deep dives, more side conversations. And let us know, do y'all be watching Porsha channel? Do y'all be watching other people's POV or what's going on? Do y'all want to hear what our thoughts on Porsha POV? Because as far as I know, I think Porsha be doing mukbangs with her videos and things like that. So let us know what y'all want to see. And we will make the ultimate decision if it's interesting enough to talk about it. Anything else?
That's it.
Y'all be good.
Bye.